Okay, sir. So now there is one question saying that is this course free or paid? So grooming session is basically to help you out to understand DevOps and cloud course. So these 5 sessions, whatever are available. రాట్లేదా? It will take delay ఉంటుంది. Right. This 5 sessions, whatever we have in the grooming, as long as we are having grooming, there are no charges that are present because this is a bridge course. After that, you will be charged. Okay. Right. Now let us try to understand. Okay. Yesterday we have had our first session, right? Now let us continue the discussion. Okay. Let us quickly review what we have discussed yesterday. Right. So I'm quite sure you know where to find the information, right? Whatever classes which we are having, if you want to listen to that again, if you go to YouTube, you should be able to see videos, or if you go into the live session, this was yesterday's session. Yeah. So if you want to get into the classroom notes of it, if you go into the description, there is a classroom notes over there, or you can go to directdevops.blog, and this was what we have discussed yesterday. So we have discussed a little bit about our roles and responsibilities, and then we have tried to understand what a rack is, and we were trying to understand some architecture of or it's not an exact architecture, but it's an approximate view of what PVR movies would look like, and based on that we have tried to speak about 2 different approaches. One was directly installing the application on physical server. The second one was installing it on something which we call as virtual machines using a software called as Hypervisor. Okay, right. So let us speak about hypervisors. So Hypervisor is a software to create virtual machines. Okay. So there are 2 types of hypervisors. The first one is type 1, the second one is type 2. Simple. So what this type 1 tries to speak about is there is no need for you to write any notes, sir. In my classes you can ignore writing notes. Nedrotti raskondi. Okay. So because anyway I am writing it for you. Okay. Let us understand. Notes will రాయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. Okay. Right. So type 1 hypervisor is which we install directly on a physical server. Okay. So on the physical server you are directly installing it. Okay. This acts as operating system and creates virtual machines. This is type 1 hypervisor. In all your data centers, generally people prefer using type 1 hypervisors. The most popular type 1 hypervisor over here is VMware ESXi. Okay. So you go to any organization and understand what is that they are running on the servers, they will have VMware ESXi. But in addition to that, what they do is, since the VMware ESXi is installed on each server, so if you have 10,000 servers, or let us say 500 servers, so you are installing 500 ESXi installations. To control that, they will be using one more software which is called as vSphere. Okay, right. VMware, not vCenter. Sorry. So what this vCenter does is it connects to different ESXi servers. So for example, if you look at this image, okay, if you try to look into it, we have ESXi, and then we have vCenter. To connect to this vCenter, we will have vSphere. So let us assume that I am a data center admin. Okay, I will be using vSphere client which connects to vCenter, and vCenter can speak with any of the ESXi which is installed on the physical machine, because you can't expect an admin to go and connect to each and every server and see what is happening. So these kind of softwares are basically used for centralized management. Okay, centralized management అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇప్పుడు జనరల్గా మన ఎలక్ట్రిసిటీ ఆఫీస్ ఉంటుంది, right? We have electricity office, you have a lot of power grids, but there will be one centralized location where they will be monitoring everything, right? They will have dashboards, they will have ability to connect. The same thing over here. So vCenter server speaks with ESXi, and then there is no need for you to walk to this physical server to create virtual machines. You can create them from vSphere. This is what VMware admins do. Okay, so if you are a VMware administrator, your day job mostly will be with vSphere client, which connects to vCenter and speaks with ESXi, right? Okay, that is not agenda of our discussion, but yeah, that is type 1 hypervisor. Now let us try to speak about type 2. This is installed on operating systems, okay, and helps in creating virtual machines. So for example, if it is a type 2 hypervisor, I can install it on my Windows 10. I can install it on Windows Server. I can install it on Linux machine. So this is not, this doesn't act as an operating system. It looks like a software. Okay. So if you are using anything at on top of not Windows 10 or Windows 11 Home Edition, if you are using Enterprise, Professional, Standard, any other edition apart from Home Edition, in your laptop you would have this Hyper-V. So this Hyper-V is a type 2 hypervisor using which you can create virtual machines. So are you seeing Ubuntu in here? So I have a Windows machine, and in my Windows machine I have created a Ubuntu server. Okay, so how is this possible? This is possible because this hypervisor is installed on top of your operating system. This is used generally for our convenience, but in data centers type 1 is used. Okay, so the examples of this are, we have Hyper-V, we have VMware Workstation. For the people who are having Macs, okay, so there is something called as Parallels. So on the Mac you install Parallel, and then you can create a Windows machine on your Mac, which is a type 2 hypervisor. Are we clear on this, sir? Yeah. So most of the times we will be dealing with type 1 hypervisor for organizational purposes, type 2 hypervisor for your laptop kind of purposes. So for example, in your laptop, if you want a Ubuntu, then ensure Hyper-V is running, and on Hyper-V install whatever operating system which you want. Okay, good, sir. Now these are hypervisors. So now we know data center, we know hypervisor. Okay, right. Now let us understand about global network. Global network. Okay, so for example, I have an office which is located only in Hyderabad location. So then there is no concept of global network. I have only one site where everything is working. But these days all the organizations are present across the world. Okay, so now if your organizations are present across the world, then how about cloud? Cloud will be much wider than that, right? Okay, so let me show you something interesting. Today we'll play. Okay, so I'll speak about Azure global network, and then I'll also speak about AWS's global network. Okay, so it doesn't matter, everything is same at the end of the day. Okay, so Azure global infrastructure. The reason I've started with Azure in Azure is because in Azure there is something which you can play with. Okay, right. So all of us can go through this website and then play around with what Microsoft is doing with respect to Azure. So are you saying this? Okay, I can click on skip intro. Okay. Let me try to click on this. Explore the globe. Okay. Now, so are you seeing throughout the world they have different dots around the world, and in India also they are having certain things, and then there is some cable that is going across the globe. Yeah, right. So now let me fine. So right. So now they want to give space connectivity also. Okay, connectivity from satellites. Okay, so they will have okay, this is good for fun, but let us come to reality. Okay, that is something which Azure will do. Okay, now what I'll try to do is let me go over here and let me go to building blocks of Azure. Okay, let us go to something which we understand, and then from there let us come out. Okay. Yeah. Data centers are, as per yesterday's discussion, are the servers that are maintained by your organization. Okay. So right now we'll start from there, and then we will try to see how the things will work out. So I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in operations room also. Mechanical area, not interested. Show me the servers room. Yeah, this is our area of interest. Let us see what we have learned yesterday. Okay. Are you seeing racks? Right? This is something which you understand, right? So if you basically, this is 360-degree view. Yeah. So if you enter the circular center, how would it look like? Let us not worry about it. Let me go with server blades or blade servers. This is what Microsoft Azure uses. So they use different blade servers. This is how they look. Okay. Right. And they fit inside this rack. They fit inside this rack. Even in your organization also it would be the same, but they will not go for this kind of servers. These are very costly stuff. Okay. So yesterday we have seen the one from Dell which was around 6 lakhs. These are much costlier than that. Okay. Now, basically, what happens on the cloud is, whenever we are speaking about cloud, if I have to define, I think I have defined in the demo also. Cloud is all about using someone else's hardware. So, since I am using Azure, I have decided that I want to use Microsoft's hardware. Okay. Now, where will Microsoft have this hardware? So, what Microsoft tries to tell us, I have this hardware. Okay. Let this page be open. This is my highly animated page, so it takes time to load. Yeah. So let me go with explore the globe, and let me remove all the fancy stuff and make it a map view. Okay, are you seeing all the dots? Wherever you are seeing dots on this page, there is something of Microsoft that is running over there. Okay, right. So what Microsoft tries to tell about this is, let us wait for that stuff to be open. Yeah. Okay. All right. Microsoft, when it comes to infrastructure, okay, right, has two important things, but we are speaking about the first thing over here. So they will identify some location on the planet. So for example, let us have the Indian view so that it is easier for us to understand. South India, if you basically carefully observe, it is Chennai. Okay. Central India, Pune. Right. So these are the two locations which is active. There is one more, some other areas which are basically present. I'll speak about what they are. Okay. So I was saying India South Central. This is Hyderabad, by the way. So data center of Azure is coming up over here. So what it tries to tell is, I'll have something which I call as region or location. So Microsoft Azure tries to find out some location on the planet, and then they are going to call it as regions. Okay. Right. Earlier what Microsoft used to tell us, okay, I'll have regions, at least 2 regions in a country. What is the reason for that? Let us assume that I am trying to run a Book My Show application in Chennai. Remember few years ago Chennai had floods? Now if the same floods come, and due to that disaster, if Azure data centers are filled with water or whatever it is, now are you okay as a Book My Show owner? Chennai has floods, so I am unable to sell tickets in Delhi. చెన్నైలో వర్షాలు పడినాయి కాబట్టి ఢిల్లీలో టికెట్లు అమ్మడానికి కుదరదు. వినటానికి బాగుందా ఇది? No, it doesn't look good. So what they try to tell us, I'll give you 2 locations. When you are running applications, run in 2 locations. So here it is Chennai and Pune now. So try to run it in Chennai. If Chennai has some problem, your application will work in Pune. What will happen if Chennai and Pune got floods? అంటే ప్రపంచం అంతమైపోతున్నట్టు. అప్పుడు మనం పెద్దగా ఆలోచించాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. Right? So Chennai, Pune are very much distance ahead, right? There are approximately 500-600 kilometers far away. Generally disasters don't touch that far. Okay, right. So in that regions, what they will have is, they will have buildings of data centers, not data center, buildings of data centers, huge data centers. You might have at approximately whatever your office calls it as a server room, they might have hundreds of those servers rooms and in only one location. Okay, that is the reason why when Amazon announces a data center in Hyderabad, Microsoft announces a data center in Hyderabad, for example, KTR will be very proud and trying to tell that we have brought this project. The reason for that is, it gives us a lot of employment, because maintenance of this requires lots of people doing the job. Okay, right. So earlier this is what Microsoft used to do. So they used to have regions, and regions used to have data centers. So we'll be speaking about AWS, but AWS follows a different approach. What AWS tries to tell us, I will identify a location. I will identify a location or a city, and in that city I will try to identify something which I will call it as availability zone. Okay, don't be worried about what availability zone is. Consider it to be as a branch office. In one city you have 3 different branches. In the same way, once they identify a location, in that location they are having 3 different places at least where you will have data centers. Okay, so you have data centers like this. Now what they try to tell us, between one availability zone to other availability zone, it will be at least 30 to 60 kilometers far away from each other. Now let us go back to the same story of Chennai getting floods. Even when Chennai got floods, not all of Chennai was submerged, not all of Chennai was impacted. Few areas were impacted. Now this is what Amazon believes. Okay, so Microsoft also has started doing this. Okay, so but Microsoft doesn't call it as availability zone, but rather they call it as zone, and they give numbering: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. So did you understand these 2 concepts? So in Microsoft, whenever we are cloud, whenever you are working on, you have 2 different things to worry about. One is obviously region or location, and then locations with zones and locations without zones. Locations with zones and locations without zones. And in each of that zone you will have hundreds of data centers. In each data center, hundreds of racks. In each rack, tens of servers. This is what Microsoft has. Okay. So are we clear on this, sir? Yeah. So these are regions. Now let us go back to this map. Are you seeing this cable? Okay. So it looks like internet, right? Yeah. But actually it is not internet. This is something which Microsoft has physical cables which they have basically laid underneath the sea throughout the globe, so that this network is used to transfer the data from one region to other region. So when you are copying the data between Chennai region of Azure to Pune region of Azure, you are not using internet, you are using this network. Okay. So this network is a high speed bandwidth which carries only Azure data. Now will this be faster or internet be faster? Obviously, right? This is like a private route. This is like a private route between the one internet is like normal road. This is like a toll road. You have to pay to come here. So obviously we'll have better reliable data transfers. Okay. By the way, AWS also has it, GCP also has this. But if it is our company which is running our applications, if they have to lay down this kind of cable, it takes loads of dollars of investment to do that, and our companies will not be able to use it. At least we can pay and then use it. Okay. Right, sir. The second part is global network. This kind of network which connects your infrastructure is called as backbone network. Is called as backbone network. So now I have one location of Azure connected with other location of Azure using backbone network. Okay. So this backbone network is also called as Azure global network. Right, sir. Fine, sir. Okay, sir. So are we clear on this? Okay. Now the story is not done yet. We have one more thing to worry about. So let me copy the path so far. Okay. Azure has two types of regions. One is region, which is collection of data centers. The other one is region with zones. Okay. So each zone is collection of data centers. Okay. Between two zones, the distance will be 30 to 60 kilometers away. Okay, or far away. Okay. Right. Azure has a backbone network, okay, called as Azure global network or Azure backbone network, which connects every region, okay, via high speed, okay, network cables owned by Microsoft for Azure. Okay, sir. Now, as I said, there is one more thing. Okay. Good, sir. So to establish a data center, it requires billions of dollars of capex and opex. Yeah, that's how Microsoft is selling, right? That's the reason why we are seeing cloud where lots of organizations are using it. So for them, ROI is not really an issue. If you and me start doing that, we should be worried about, because there are giants already doing this. Okay, right. So now there is one more challenge. Okay, let us assume that I'm quite sure all of us are using OTT platforms, right? Netflix, AHA, or Hotstar, or what, right? So now let me go to this map itself. Okay, for some time, let us assume that you have used okay, let me not use Azure map. Why should I use Azure map? Let me use world map images. చిన్నప్పటి నుండి ఇలాగే ఏడిసినాయి ఈ మ్యాప్. Open image in new tab. Okay, right. Fine, sir. And now let us assume that you have your data center somewhere in US, somewhere over here. Okay, and you are basically running basically an OTT platform for some time. Let us assume that it is Netflix. By the way, Netflix doesn't use Azure, it uses AWS. Okay, right. So let us assume that this is okay. Fine. We have Netflix over here. So let me try to write. I am speaking about Netflix. Now videos are uploaded over here, and then you are watching the video from here. Okay, let us assume that a new web series have came. You wanted to something, you watch. Each video is of size 1 GB. When you are watching from your mobile platform, slowly each and every bits will be transferred to your device. Do you agree with me on this? Eventually, if you watch the full episode, you will be downloading all the 1 GB. Okay, now hundreds of users in India are starting the same web series. Okay, now will it be faster or will it be slow? The problem is, what is the reason for slow? For me, it is not number of users. Number of users means Azure Azure has a decent large servers. For me, users is not a problem. Time taken for the packet from my mobile phone to go to US and come back to India takes time. It might not be flight like 26 గంటలు పట్టదు కానీ it will take seconds. So if the server is in US, every time the time taken by the packet to go to that server and come back, that is something which we call as latency. Okay, so again, from yesterday we have started this habit, right? So let us try to write terms. I am just writing terms, you figure out your definitions. Okay, what is latency? Latency is time taken for the packet to go and come back. Okay, that is more. So Azure might make it fast. If a number of users are more, Azure will have lot of servers, so that is not an issue. But traveling time, Azure can't make it less, right? Okay, so what do you think Netflix should do now to reduce this travel time? Okay, have servers in India also. Yes, right? So have it all around the world, so that your OTT platform, whenever any user accesses, will not take lot of time in travel. You reduce latency. This is done by all the applications from way back. ఇది కొత్తగా చేస్తున్న పని కాదు, ఎప్పటి నుండో చేస్తున్నారు. Okay, so this is not new. So these kind of systems are called as content delivery networks. So in this content delivery networks, what we would have is, you would have origin server. Origin server is where you have uploaded your videos in our story. Netflix has uploaded those videos in US. Okay, so every time you are watching from your mobile phone, your packets were traveling from your mobile phone to US and come back, and the journey time was long. That was a problem statement. So now point of presence servers. So these are the servers that are present across the world, so that your users might not face slowness due to latency. So what they will do is they will have point of presence servers in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Mumbai, depending on what is the scale of your users, so that whenever you upload a video, video gets also transferred to different locations across the world. Different locations across to the world. Now these are called as point of presence servers. Okay, or edge servers. Am I clear on this, sir? Yes. So Microsoft has something which is called as edge locations. Okay, the purpose of this edge location is to have edge servers. ఈ edge locations వల్ల జరిగేది ఏంటంటే you will have edge servers. That means if you are building something like content delivery network, anyway we have regions. In addition to all the regions, Microsoft also has edge locations. Are you seeing this? So for example, in India, if you try to see the small blue dots, okay, this is the maximum zoom which I can get. Are you seeing it is showing Delhi? Okay, let me bring it back to 100%. Delhi, okay, Nagaland, okay, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore also you have edge locations. Edge locations are not huge data centers, they are small data centers. One purpose of edge location is for this edge servers. Are you clear on this, sir? So that you can use any, or you can build any OTT platform like AHA or Hotstar on Azure. Okay, there is one more thing also, right? So generally when you start using cloud, your organization will already be having lot of servers. So you have servers in your office which needs to copy data to cloud. So for some time, let us look at this story. So my office is in Bangalore. Okay, Azure has a region in Chennai. Okay, so now if I basically want to copy the data from my office which is in Bangalore to Chennai, what is that I'll be using? I'll be using internet. Do you agree with me on this? There is no other way, because it is my office to Azure. Okay, if it is Azure to Azure, we have a backbone network, but backbone network is not available for you or me, because this is our office. So this is your office. This again, internet is unreliable. It is not speed. It is not very speedy affair. Okay. So what these people try to tell us, okay, one way is you can go with this route. The better way is somewhere near where lot of companies are working. Microsoft has edge location. Okay, remember backbone network? Backbone network also connects edge locations also. Now what Azure tries to tell us, from your office, go and have a connection with Vodafone, Airtel, Jio, or whoever telecom provider is, and ask them to give a leased connection between your office and edge location. Again, not internet. This is called as leased connection. So in Bangalore, your office is in Bangalore. To the edge location in Bangalore, you are taking a leased line. And now, if you want to copy the data, do I need to use internet? I don't need internet anymore, because I have this way, right? So I connect to the edge location is connected to backbone network is already speed which can transfer the data. So now if you want to transfer the data to Chennai or to somewhere in US, it will be much faster because we have this connection. This is the second purpose. This is the second purpose. Any cloud, same story, sir. Now, in next few minutes, I'll be speaking about AWS, where it would be like I am reiterating the same things. Okay. If I speak about GCP also, it would look the same thing. Okay. Right. Good, sir. So, fine. Edge locations. Did you understand the purpose of edge locations? So, edge locations have two purposes. For on-premise. On-premise is what? Your organizational servers. For on-premise connectivity and edge locations. Okay. Or content delivery networks. Okay. Right. So there is one more thing which I want to basically speak about, but I will not speak. But I am quite sure that you might have heard a lot about 5G networks. Airtel 5G, Jio 5G and all of that stuff. There are certain things which are happening on cloud also with respect to 5G, but we will discuss about it on some other day. Okay. Right. Now shall we start looking at AWS? Yes, because it doesn't matter. AWS global infrastructure. Okay. Let us see what AWS tries to speak about. File, new from template. Okay. I'll try to use the same one. I think this is what I've used, or this one. Yeah. So AWS global infra. So what AWS tries to tell us, it will identify some location on the planet. So AWS global infrastructure. Now if you try to see, it says that I have 31 launched regions, 99 availability zones, 450 point of presence servers. Point of presence, we now got to understand what point of presence is now. It is nothing but a edge location, right? And there are regional edge caches and edge locations. Okay. So this is how Azure's map looks like. So in India they have two locations now. One is in Mumbai, the other one is in Hyderabad. Okay. Hyderabad, yeah, AWS has already launched Hyderabad stuff. Okay. Fine then. So they will identify a region. In every region they will ensure that at least there is one or three availability zones. At least three. Okay. There are some regions where there are 6, where there are 4. So for example, if you click on Mumbai, how many availability zones are there? 3. Okay. So Hyderabad, 3. UAE, 3. Okay, this is government cloud. Oregon, how many availability zones? 4. Now let me come over here. This is Canada. Ohio, how many availability zones? 3. Let me go to North Virginia. 6 availability zones. Right? Okay, fine. Now you go from region to region, you might have a different story. So Sydney, 3 availability zones. Melbourne, 3 availability zones. You go across the world, you would be basically finding. So minimum is 3. Okay, it was 2 few years ago. Now it is 3. Okay, that's the reason I am using availability zones. And now each availability zone is again buildings of data centers. Is it looking similar? Yeah? Region. Azure has 2 types, whereas AWS has only 1 type. Every region has zones. Okay, good. Okay. AWS global infrastructure. What does it have? regions. Okay. Now they have one more interesting thing which is called as local zones. Okay. So what is this local zone? So for example, local zone is in India there is one local zone in Delhi. That is not multiple zones, that is only one availability zone. So what would happen? There are local zones. So that local zones is again collection of data centers. This local zone, okay, can be added to the region and it looks as if it is the fourth availability zone. Did you understand the point? Okay, let me come back. So in India there are two regions, right? One is Mumbai, the other one is Hyderabad. So there are a lot of companies in Goregaon also. There are companies in Bangalore also. So what AWS tries to tell is I can't build whole region there. So let me try to build as if I am building one availability zone there. So in one availability zone, what is that we would have? Multiple data centers. To build that, they call it as local zone. Now what you can do if you want to run something in Delhi is, you can't directly run in Delhi. So what you have to do is, Delhi will be a local zone to Mumbai. So it is a local zone, but it looks like it is a fourth availability zone of Mumbai. మీరు క్రియేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు మీరు వాడేటప్పుడు ఢిల్లీ లాగా కనబడదు, నాలుగో జోన్ లాగా కనబడుతుంది. బట్ యాక్చువల్లీ వాట్ ఇస్ ఇట్? ఇట్ ఈస్ ఢిల్లీ. ఓకే. సో Hyderabad, whatever region which they are having, the plan is to have one more local zone which is for Bangalore. So Microsoft AWS is building because they don't have this concept of multi-regions like what Microsoft has. So what they are doing is they are building local zones. Okay. So if you try to understand closely, whatever Microsoft used to do, Azure is adopting that. Whatever AWS is doing that, Microsoft is adopting. So vice versa. So Microsoft believed in this concept. In one country there should be multiple locations. AWS said no. I'll have only one region which will have multi zones. Now but they want, because Delhi there are a lot of companies who want to use AWS, but because they don't have presence they are moving away. What is that they are doing? Now they are building local zones. So local zones is where you will have lot of IT presence, a lot of companies which require cloud services. So what they do is don't build the whole region, but they build as if they are building one zone. And that zone can be added as a fourth zone or a fifth zone to any existing region. Not any, few. For example, Mumbai you cannot add, Delhi you cannot add it to Hyderabad. You can add it to only Mumbai. Similarly, Bangalore becomes a fourth zone of Hyderabad. Okay. So the same thing they have done in US. For example, if you try to see over here, are you seeing there are 7 local zones? So actually the availability zones are 4. But if you add all the 7, it would look as if you have 11 availability zones. Okay? Right? So did you understand this concept, sir? Yeah? So wavelength zones is about 5G networks. I am not speaking about that. Wavelength zones is all about how you can use the carrier networks, telephone communication and all that stuff. Let us stick to regions and local zones. Ide chala mandiki teliyadu, by the way. Right? Many people don't know local zones. They think that it is some difficult topic. No, it is not difficult. It is just to have presence across the globe. Okay. Yeah, edge, that is the next story, sir. Okay. So now did you understand this concept of local zones? Yeah. Good. So local zones to have more locational presence. Okay. So they started supporting local zones. So whatever that wavelength zone is, that is basically created for 5G networks. Okay, right. Now, so how on-premises cloud to AWS migration? Sir, మనం ఇంకా బాసర్ వెళ్ళి ఇప్పుడిప్పుడే అక్షరాలు నేర్చుకుంటున్నాం. మీకు డైరెక్ట్గా 3వ క్లాస్లో క్లౌడ్ మైగ్రేషన్ కావాలంటే అన్ని శక్తులు నాకు లేవు. Okay, we are just yesterday itself we have understood what rack is, what server is. Now we are directly speaking about cloud migration. It will take some time, sir. మీ ఆత్రం నాకు బాగా నచ్చింది అశోక్ గారు, కాకపోతే మనకు అన్ని శక్తులు రాలేదు ఇంకా. ఓకే, కొంత టైం పడుతుంది ఇవన్నీ చేయడానికి. ఓకే, ఫైన్ దెన్. సో అగైన్ నెట్ఫ్లిక్స్ ఈజ్ మై AWS is one of the biggest customer, and we all know that Netflix is most widely used OTT platform. Yeah, and Amazon Prime obviously uses Amazon, right? There are many OTT platforms which are present. So what AWS also has is AWS edge locations. Okay, let me see. So I think there are lots of locations. Yeah, so for example in India, if you try to see, there are different places where you have edge locations. The whole point of this edge location we have already spoken. Okay, two different purposes. One is for connectivity between your organization to backbone network, which is called as AWS's global network. Okay, and for caching or for that video streaming, reducing latency. Whatever we do, that is basically edge network. Okay, right, sir? Yeah. So here also we have edge network. So let me give you some links so that you can play around or you can refer to them. Edge locations and Azure global infrastructure. Okay, yeah, I think I have given them. Okay, right, sir. Now I don't want to speak about GCP, but GCP also does the same thing. Okay, right, fine, sir. Now one last image, Azure AWS global network. Yeah, I don't want this, I want image. Let me go with image. Open image and new tab. Sorry, saying AWS also has a global network which connects every region, local zone and edge location, so that all the transfers that you are doing between any region in AWS is basically happening through this global network or backbone network. Okay, but AWS uses a term called as global. Azure uses a term called as backbone, but both are same. Okay, the whole point is, now whenever you are copying the data from any AWS region into any other AWS region, you are not using internet, you are using this backbone networks. Okay, which is a very high speed fiber optic network. And then if you try to look into any region to region, you will not have one connection, you will have two connections, even in Azure, so that if one goes down, you have one more transferring the data for you. That is how they are basically designed. Okay, good, sir. Fine then. So this is how clouds organize their stuff. Our organizational servers are very limited, we have few servers, but cloud, they have lot of server infrastructure. Okay, now what we will try to do is, we will try to understand what happens when we create a virtual network in any or virtual machine in any cloud. How do they basically do that, or how do they justify the pricing model? Okay, so we'll understand little bit about how cloud will charge us. Okay, not from the user perspective, but let us try to understand from the cloud perspective. So what Microsoft and AWS has done now, they have created lot of infrastructure. Okay. Now they have to make money out of it. Yeah. So now we just relate this with how government is basically creating national highways. National highway is not funded by government. Okay, completely. L&T or these kind of company, even Metro, Hyderabad Metro for that matter, is not completely a government project. It is basically taken by L&T. They have built this infrastructure. Okay, and then they are basically collecting revenue out of different ways out of this metro. Right. Let us also try to understand how cloud makes money out of whatever they have basically done. Right, sir? Good. Fine then. So, last topic for today. Okay. Credentials. I am quite sure we know what credentials are. So, what are credentials, sir? Username, password. Ante kada? That is what we basically make out. Yeah. It's okay that there is nothing wrong in username and password. But from now onwards, we should know one more thing, which is username and key. Okay. So from now onwards, whenever I am trying to speak about credentials, these are the three things which you need to understand. What is it? Username, password, username and key. So let me call it as, rather than using key, let me use key pair. Okay. The third one is token. Okay. So what these things are, we will try to understand in our next session. Okay. So today I'll give you a small exercise. All that you need to do in that exercise is, by watching that exercise, you can install the softwares on your system. Okay. You try it. If you are unable to do it, that is what we will try to do in our next session. So tomorrow let us try to understand this concept of credentials, and exercise for you is to watch the video to install softwares on your laptop. Mac users, I will try to help you out tomorrow. This is basically for Windows users. Okay. So let me go over here. Okay, sir. All right. Refer here for the video. All right. Okay. And one more request for you tomorrow is, for tomorrow what we will do is bring your system, so that let us log in into Linux machine and do something. Okay. Rep mana Linux machine log login ayi edo cheddam. Okay. So let us see how our first steps into Linux machine look like. Okay. Good, sir. Fine then. And then once we understand this, then we need to get into some of the terms with respect to compute. Okay. So what happens when you run an application in your system? Okay. So those kind of things we'll try to slowly understand. But ensure that tomorrow you bring some system, because we are connecting to a Linux machine. Even if you don't have a system, it's okay, but at least ensure that you are sitting beside someone who has one. Okay. Right. Good, sir. So any questions, sir? Where can we get these notes from? Sir, every day I am basically storing the notes in directdevops.blog, and then this was yesterday's grooming sessions. This is where your notes would be. One more way is, so yesterday, this was, if you go to the live, this was yesterday's session. And in yesterday's session, if you basically click on more, there is a notes link added over here. I am ensuring that in this video I am adding the notes link, so that you can watch the notes. Today also I will be doing the same thing. Right? Okay. Fine then. So, right. Let me stop it at that. Okay. And we'll meet again tomorrow to continue this discussion. Right? Okay, sir. Thank you.